Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I want to dive right in today to talk to you about such an important topic, which is your path to prosperity. At the end of the day, all of us, especially as entrepreneurs, are starting our businesses so that we can create a better life. And whether that is a better life for yourself, a better life for your family, a better life for the world around you, this idea of creating your path to prosperity and a life that feels prosperous is something that I have been hearing over and over from you as I'm jumping on business alignment calls, as I am talking to people in the DMs, people who are attracted to human design and business and the work that we are doing as spiritual entrepreneurs really see a bigger vision for the reason that they have their business. And I want to explain in this episode for you why designing an aligned business is that path to prosperity. And I'm going to dive into each of the five human design types to share with you what it looks like to be designing a prosperous business for each of the types. But I also want you to understand that prosperity looks different for everyone. And you might consciously understand that, intellectually understand that, but as I've been jumping on these business alignment calls, which is the way if you're interested in joining the Aligned Business Blueprint program, this is the program that I help people design their aligned businesses based on their human design. The constant message that I hear is this overwhelming desire to want to fulfill this calling, this desire to create a better life. And I have had people tell me on these calls that maybe it's just creating a better life for their family, themselves, and it's having 100K income that they're actually, crossing that six-figure mark for their family, which no one in their whole life has done that. Or I've had people on the other end talking about this grand vision that they have for creating something that is worldwide and really makes an impact on a huge scale. And the passion and the love that people communicate this with is so encouraging. And I'm so happy to see that there's so many people out there who have this desire. Because no matter what prosperity looks like for you, the way that you create that prosperity, the path to your prosperity is intentional. It comes by you intentionally designing a path forward. And what's really cool about using human design in business to do that is that we understand what your unique gifts are, what your unique strengths are, and what you've been designed to do in this world, in this lifetime, and get you to that prosperous state so much faster, no matter what that looks like. But I want you to be really clear on the fact that ultimately, this idea of prosperity really does include business success as well as personal success, personal happiness, and whatever that looks like for you can vary. And how you create that is so important for you to do that based on your unique design because you're going to get to that end goal so much more quickly, so much more easily because you're doing it in the way that's most aligned for you. You're doing it in the way that you've been designed to. So then things are not going to feel as hard, or you're going to know where you need support in order to achieve your goal in a much quicker way. So let's dive in. I want to talk with you a little bit more in case you have not yet signed up for a business alignment call. I'm only taking these. So if you're listening to this episode on the day it drops, I'm only taking them through August 22nd because this cohort starts on August 27th. And the Aligned Business Blueprint program is the place where we are creating your customized individual business plan based on your human design. And if this is something you have been curious about or thinking about, I highly encourage you to jump on one of these calls. There's only a couple of days left to get them scheduled. And I will not be running this program again until 2025. So please, if you're thinking about it, get on a call. The link will be in my show notes. You can get it in my Instagram at I am Anna Nichols. Or if you need to do some research, check it out at www.spiritualbusinessincubator.com/blueprint. and you can get a bunch more details about the program because now, my friends, this is what I want you to really be thinking about, that creating an aligned business blueprint as the path towards your prosperity, we really are looking at what are your unique strengths? What is the life that you personally want to create? And when I dive into the different types and some of the examples that I have, I'm going to share some really interesting nuances that clients that I have worked with have had as they're going through creating their own business blueprint because of situations or circumstances within their life, within their design. And it's so profound when we start to bring it all together under this more traditional structure of a business plan, but doing it in this new way with your human design infused in it and not having to guess on what message you're saying or who your ideal client is, and looking at it from a more holistic perspective, from that spiritual perspective and really grounding into the fact that you get to have the life that you desire. You've been designed for the life that you desire. And now we are creating a plan for you to do that. And this is what I take you through in the Aligned Business Blueprint. So get on one of those business alignment calls, and I will hope to see you on the other side. So let's dive in a little bit more into the different types and what it really looks like to design and align business. And I want to start first with manifestors because one of the things that I so commonly see with manifestors is this resistance to tradition, to authority, and also this maybe difficulty to follow through. And manifestors, if you are listening, this is so important for you to hear that you are the one who's here to initiate and innovate. And sometimes that feeling of resistance or the difficulty to follow through, what has happened is you have not set yourself up first as a thought leader, whether in your own mind or in the community that you're trying to support or lead. And you haven't set yourself up with the support structures in your business that are actually going to help you do the follow through, that are going to help you really create that prosperity. And when you're out there trying to act like someone else, like a different type, you might be burning yourself out, forcing yourself to work harder or in different ways than you are truly designed to, or really limiting yourself by trying to fit into a box that you are not made to be in. And this happens so often because as manifestors, sometimes there's this feeling of isolation because you are paving the way. You are the one saying things that maybe people don't want to hear, or you're the one that is pointing people in a direction that they've never gone before. And when you're thinking about how you design your business to do that, and at an energetic level, how you actually create that sustainable long term business that actually helps you achieve the income that you desire, the impact that you desire, the prosperity that you desire, I want you to really think about this as a manifester in figuring out how to embrace your unique ability to initiate and innovate. I want you to think about how are you communicating your intentions? Are you communicating your intentions to everybody around you? And are you finding ways to delegate tasks? Do you have support structure in place? Who is helping you with the details and the follow through? And I want to give you an example of this amazing young woman that I worked with, and she is a dog trainer, manifester, and she has this beautiful vision of what training looks like. And it is a very collaborative, interactive process between the trainer, the dog parent, and the dog. And it's so hands-on and is so interactive, not only the training that you might traditionally think of sit, stand, walk, all of these different things, like what we normally think of in dog training, but she really has this vision for experiences. Like, how do I help people train their dogs on the trails in the mountains or in different capacities, and does some really cool stuff in her business that at first, really when we started working together, she felt like she couldn't do those exciting things. She couldn't really put herself out there and pursue business in the way that she wanted because all of the other dog trainers that she saw were doing things very similarly. And so for her to go out there and pave the way and innovate felt really hard. This was before she understood her human design, and she always had that calling. But learning this, that she is a manifester and meant to do that, adding in the fact that she is a 3-5 in her profile, like understanding these things and starting to create her business from that place, she feels more fulfilled in her life because she gets to do more of the things that she wants. She feels more fulfilled in her business because the offerings that she has are so much more in alignment with her vision. And all of this is helping her on that path to prosperity because she knows what she's creating. She knows who she's meant to be and is taking action to do that. So now I want to dive into the generators. If you are a generator, listen up because what you may be dealing with, so what so many of the generators that I'm dealing with as clients and supporting through this process of designing your aligned business, it comes from overcommitting and really taking on all of these things because you feel like you have the energy, but they may not be in alignment for you in the big picture. Or really, what is happening is that because you can do things, you've historically had the energy, been asked to do things, but you're putting out so much because you also and really have this desire to bring people in. That's that enveloping aura of the generator. And anything that you're building in your business, you want to share it and call in as many people as possible and however that feels right for you. But what happens then is you've got so many opportunities and maybe so many offers and so many things and so many ideas that you are overwhelmed and almost this like analysis paralysis happens in your business because you might have spread yourself too thin or you are like it's almost like stuck waiting for something to happen to for you to initiate because you've got too many things going on. And what I really want you to take away from this, if you're a generator, is that getting focused in on this and putting yourself in environments and communities, in places where the things that you get to respond to are really aligned with what you desire. This is so important because you respond to external stimuli. Like you can't sit there as a generator and think your way out of a situation or like even think your all of the details out of anything that you're doing, whether that's your messaging or your marketing. And because you have this great desire and like feeling of like you've got all this energy to do things and you want to do good in the world, like, sometimes you take on too much and then you're spreading yourself too thin. And that it's called, if you've ever heard this, it's called leaky energy. And all the different types can feel it in different ways. But as generators, we get this a lot. And my encouragement to you is you're thinking about how do you move forward in your path to prosperity as a generator? It is actually really discerning what you are meant to do, how you are meant to do it, and starting to say no to things that feel out of alignment that oftentimes there is a reason it's out of alignment. Maybe it needs to evolve, maybe it needs to be completely let go. But until you allow yourself the space to like really think about is this for me? Is this not for me? Is this aligned with my design? You're going to feel this definite feeling of overwhelm of all of the possibilities because historically, especially before you understood your human design, you're often the one asked to do the projects, asked to help, asked to do a lot of the doing, and didn't maybe feel like you could say no or didn't have a way of really knowing if things were aligned for you or not. You might intuitively know, but because other people were doing things or people close to you were asking for you to do things, then you just said yes. And so I want you to here's some tips for you to think about as you are working on your path to prosperity, as you're looking at how do you design a business that really gets you to prosperity as a generator. And it's first and foremost to focus on what you are truly excited about and respond to opportunities related to that. And I am a generator. I know how hard this feels because sometimes it genuinely feels hard to allow yourself to have fun and follow the things that light you up. Because in the maybe the world that you grew up in or what you're seeing around you, you might see people struggling or not getting what they want. And when a door opens for you to follow what you are excited about, what you're passionate about, it almost feels scary to walk through it because then maybe you're fearing you're going to get judged, or what would people think about you, or you're worried of what it might like what might be on the other side because it's different. Or even this idea of if you're following what you're passionate about and it's fun, you're like, I'm supposed to work hard for whatever it is that I get. And as generators, really following what excites you, you're going to have the energy to do it. And it's not going to feel hard. Whereas doing things that are out of alignment, that don't light you up, that's when the hard work comes in. And you get to and are intentionally designed to do this because then when you are full of energy as a generator in your business, in your life, you are sharing all of this great energy with people around you and then helping them have energy to do the things that's right for them. You're inspiring them. You are like literally actually helping share energy with them. And you need to be lit up and excited in order to actually be able to, right, pour out of a full cup, not up out of an empty cup, if you like that analogy. And part of this means starting to recognize, really understand through your strategy and authority, and this is for everyone, but for generators specifically, when you start to feel things are a no, then you need to actually say no or decide that something's going to change. And I want to give you an example of this actually. So, with a client that I'm working on or working with, she has been so passionate about helping people heal. And it's really beautiful to see the depth to which that she helps people. And what's been really interesting as she's going through her own business evolution, the way that she had built her business originally has shifted because of what social media looks like now and things like that. And it's been really interesting that something that, as we've been talking through her business blueprint, that she loves creating content, but is now feeling this huge amount of frustration because of how Instagram, the algorithm looks and the amount of ads that are happening and like how she used to be able to get more organic visibility and things are changing. And whether or not the algorithm actually is impacting us, what really matters here is that she was feeling this frustration. And what's so cool about it, though, is it opened this door for her when she's, I think I'm going to be figuring out a different way to grow my business outside of Instagram. The door opened for her for the first time in the multiple years she's been in business to explore Facebook ads, to explore writing more books, to really dive deeper into her podcast. All things that she hadn't been doing Facebook ads before, but she had already has a book out there, she already has a great podcast. And leaning into some of these different things more than where she maybe originally started, which was in Instagram. And that may have served her at one point in her business, but making that pivot and recognizing it, that she feels frustrated, right? So as we're working on designing her business and talking about how are potential clients finding you? How are they connecting with you? What does that client journey look like in a really aligned way? If she was really going to stick with Instagram and already had that frustration, she would not be attracting the clients, right? She wouldn't be as magnetic as she could be. But that door that opened up for her when she recognized that she was feeling frustrated and made a decision that she was going to explore something different, all of these other ideas and possibilities came. And that is a really cool thing for generators because when you say no, what you're doing is opening up space for new things to come to you. So if you're a generator on the path to prosperity, really think about what makes you excited, right? This generator, in my example, my client, she still gets to create content, which she loves, and now gets to explore new platforms on which she can do it. So that's my tip, my ideas for you if you're a generator looking to design your business in a way that truly leads you on the path to prosperity. All right. So if you are a manifesting generator, we're going to dive in to your type next. And what's so interesting when I talk with manifesting generators and really start to help you understand your unique type and how that looks in business, I so often see manifesting generators that have limited themselves. And it feels like the world has limited you, but it's like you've been waiting for someone to tell you that you can move as fast as you are designed to, want to, feel the urge to, and have multiple things going on. But the challenge that so many manifesting generators experience in business when they have multiple projects they're excited about, multiple business ideas, or want to move quickly is that there's a lack of infrastructure built in order for you to see that long-term sustainable success from an income perspective, even from an energetic perspective. It feels a lot like you're starting over and not really getting to where you want to go because you have so many interests and can move at such a speed. Like, there's a lot of steps that might get skipped. And what's so important if you're a manifesting generator and you're right wanting to create this prosperity in your life, when you're working on your aligned business, you have to actually have those components. I actually can think of a couple of different manifesting generators, but I was recently with one that told me that like her focus is on one product or one service, one program that she is focusing on. And I asked her, I'm like, how do you feel about that? And she feels deflated. She feels like bored. And that energy is actually showing up in the way that she's doing other things in her business and the way that she's showing up in life. And it's because the world has said to her that you need to have one thing. You need to focus in, don't do too many things at once, right? Build one bridge at a time. And Manny Gens, if you're listening, like you are meant to do multiple things at once. Yes, you need to be thoughtful and intentional. And that's why we design a business that supports you in doing that. But if you were going to focus on only one thing as a manifesting generator, your energetic makeup, you would just that light will get dimmed if you're listening at Air Gen. What that feels like because you're meant to do something different. You're meant to move faster. And one of the things that's so interesting when I work with manifesting generators is getting over that belief that you have to move slow or that you have to like do only one thing. You don't see a lot of people doing that in your life because like 70% of the population is not a manifesting generator. So they're moving differently than you are. And there's this inner doubt that you can actually pull it off. And depending on your background in business and all of the things, like you can pull it off, but you still need the infrastructure, you need the plan, you need the support, whether that's team or technology, in order to make that happen. And also, what's really important because you've got that generator component to you, you really need to be passionate about what you are working on. And because as a managen, you can do so many things, you often start a bunch of things or have this little maybe spark of excitement in the moment. And depending on if you're an emotional authority or a sacral authority, you don't give yourself enough time to really discern whether or not these projects are for you, whether this next thing that you want in business is for you. And you either jump right into it or you shut yourself down and say, nope, I've heard these other things. I can't do that. And so, some tips for you as a manifesting generator, really starting to prioritize the projects, the business ideas that you have that are connected to your passion is critical. Number one, take everything that you are doing, make that priority list, and really pick maybe two or three. I would actually encourage many gens to work on a couple of things at the same time and knowing how to pick which ones might like be the best for you, that might give you the most prosperity from a financial perspective or even from a life perspective, looking at your business and looking at your human design, there will be different things within your chart that actually tell us you would be more successful doing this. This thing's going to be easier for you and it's going to be more fun for you for the long run versus maybe some of these you're going to need more team. It's still a good idea, but we need to build up more infrastructure or more team in order to pull this off because it's something that you feel called towards. but you might need that extra support. And I want to give you the example of a manifesting generator that I worked with that had started a business, very passive income, creating resources for teachers. And she was then called to start coaching teachers and helping them be more efficient in the classroom. And this is something that she had background in. She had been a teacher in the past. And I remember meeting her originally and seeing that this process that she was doing with teachers could help so many different people. And as we started talking, she had this desire to start teaching the same process to entrepreneurs, to moms, to more people because the process that she takes people through absolutely could help so many different people. But because she had in her mind that she needed to focus in on one thing, have a very small niche or a focused in niche, she was staying in this smallness that, yes, the world had said maybe she needed to be in. But what's really interesting is when the door opened and when we started to work more closely together and knowing that she's a manager and understanding that she can do multiple things at once, she started to offer more offers out there to different types of clients, to different types of niches, and people were buying. And she was lit up and she was moving fast and helping people in all these different areas. And it's really interesting because as she had went down that path, her level of excitement increased. Her level of fulfillment increased because she knew that she was doing not just one thing that she was good at, but many things. And so when her energy was being called into multiple different directions, instead of shutting herself down and saying, "No, I can't," she now has multiple places that she can put that energy, she can move fast in. And then she's made some key hires since we've started working together and talking about this at a deeper level that are taking off the things, taking care of the details that, yes, she could do on her own if she wanted or was passionate about it. But taking that off of her plate allowed her to focus her energy in different places. And that's been so beautiful to see because now she's getting to move even more quickly and even more in alignment because she's got support in the areas that she needed in her business. Okay, now, projector friends, listen up. This is such an important thing for you. If I could say it 100 times, a million times, projectors, it is okay to build in rest into your business. It is okay to build in a schedule. It is that allows you to not be working the traditional hours that we've been taught to work with when you go to school or when you have a job or whatever that looks like before you go into entrepreneurship. And some of the challenges that actually see in projectors is this feeling of burnout. Yes, absolutely. That is a common thing that I hear from projectors, but it's because you keep trying to put yourself out there so you can get noticed and recognized, right? Because you're waiting for the invitation. But when you're doing that from this place of like constantly putting yourself out there, a really great analogy that I want to give you as a projector is that when if you have this ball of energy that is you and you are always like spreading it out as far as you can, you really are giving like these thin little wisps of energy to a lot of places. And no one really gets to truly feel you and see you and understand you because they're only getting a taste. So if you could imagine, they're really seeing like the backside of you. They're not seeing you face on, you looking at them because some of the projectors that I've worked with go to all of the networking events, are also all over all of the social media platforms, and in putting their energy in so many places because they think that the more that they do, the more success they'll have. And if we're talking paths of prosperity as a projector, your prosperity is directly connected to how much you're able to rest, how much you get to enjoy the time that you have. And that doesn't mean that you're just sitting around doing nothing. But maybe you're doing things that you enjoy for you that have nothing to do with work or you're doing things that really help fill you up, help fill up that reservoir. And so then when you start thinking about how do you design a business that leads you to prosperity, it's getting really specific on where you're going to direct your energy and how you're going to show up. How are you creating the schedule that you have for the day, the week, the month, the year? What are the offers that you're creating? All of these things in a way, like not thinking of it as, oh, I'm only supposed to work 4 hours a day and then I can't get everything done. But how do I discern what are the most important, most valuable things that I enjoy that are actually aligned with the life that I want to have, the business that I want to have, the impact that I want to make, all of that. And then it becomes much easier to work fewer hours or to not feel like you have to spread yourself so thin because you're letting go of all of these things that are not actually getting you where you want to go. And it's so important for projectors who are designed to guide people and that are designed to lead, to be in places where they can be seen, where they can be recognized. So it's not about going out there to try to get the most invitations. It's about being really intentional about putting yourself in the right places to be invited because you're the right person for that group, for that community. And some tips I want you to think about as a projector is really, how are you creating value in where you're showing up, in what content you're creating, and what services you're offering? And it's not about the most things, it's about really high amounts of value. And how are you creating boundaries within your business that allow you to manage your energy so that ball of energy gets reignited, refilled, and then when you go out to engage with people or create content or serve your clients, that you are doing it in a really intentional way and that whoever you're interacting with is getting the best version of you, which also usually means the rested version of you. And cultivating relationships is so important for projectors. So when you're out there thinking about this, and if you need a little like, how do I even take a first step in that? Look at the relationships around you and who does recognize your genius, who does care about what it is that you're doing, and starting to put yourself around more people like that, those specific people, and opportunities will start to present themselves, invitations will start to present themselves. Okay. And one of the examples that I want to give you for a projector was when I was working with this client who had a part time job, who was running her business. She was so passionate about healing people, holistic ways of like people to experience more wellness. And she was spreading herself so thin with the time that she was like going to her job, going to a bunch of different networking events, and even the packages that she had offered, they felt really hard for her to sell because it was draining a lot of her energy with a lot of one-on-one work, which she did love, but she wasn't like seeing the return in the clients that she was wanting. And it felt like really hard to get clients in the way that she was pursuing that. And one of the big things that we did was really get clear on who she was spending her time with, what networking events she was going to, that not only from a strategic perspective had the ROI that like would actually directly feed her business, but also from a fulfillment perspective, from a prosperity perspective, she actually enjoyed the people she was hanging out with, that she was spending time with, and that it was mutually beneficial for her life and her business. And it's so cool to see that, like, 3 months or so after us starting to work together, she had quit her job, and she was only focusing on her business, and then within a year, she was able to take a whole month off of her business because we had restructured the packages that she offered, we had restructured how her business actual, like, organizational structure looked like. So she had more people that were able to take on some of the client work that she had because she'd started to get so busy that she couldn't do it all on her own. But that allowed her then the space to take a break when she wanted, go on a month-long vacation with her husband, and that was such a cool thing to hear. And what's interesting is these are not ideas that she had on her own. She just had thought that all of this, like, if I'm working with people and healing them, I have to do a lot of this in one-on-one. There's only limited ways on how I can, trade my time for money, and we started to think more creatively, and whatever your type is, we still wanna think creatively, but we had to get really focused in as a projector because we wanted her energy to show up the best way that she could in the places that were most aligned for her. So if you're a projector and you're thinking about how do I design my aligned business? How do I like go on that path to prosperity? This is really why it's so important for you to understand your human design and align it with your business because the model, as you've been hearing so far with all of these different types, looks so different whether you're a generator, a manifesting generator, a manifester, a projector, and reflector, we're going to get into here in a minute. And that's why in the Align Business Blueprint, I am helping you create your customized business plan. We are really looking at who are you and what does the most aligned business look like for you so you can have the prosperity that you desire in your life so that you really can have the life that you desire. Like that projector had been from the day I met her talked about wanting this like long-term dream of wanting to take a month off with her husband or go to Scotland and thought it would be years and years away. And it was just shortly after 1 year and no part-time job, no more, right, like stretching her energy and working fewer days of the week, and then still creating a business model that supported that desire, that life for her. And reflector friends, let's dive into you. And this is something that I have been on this path to get to know more reflectors. There's only 1% of people in the world who are reflectors. And so, in full disclosure, I do share that what I'm teaching here and what I'm talking about is a combination of me using my two-line way of thinking of things and my all of the knowledge that I understand about business through my MBA, my master's in business, all of the coaching that I've done with businesses and what I have studied and understand about reflectors, and I'm starting to get to know more and more of you. And what I hear when I just start having these relationships is this validation and freedom that you do not have to do business the way that you see other people do it. And that may look different from reflector to reflector, but what is critically important is making sure that the community, the people, the environment that you are putting yourself in as a reflector is aligned with you. And there's different parts of your human design that we would be looking at in that you should be looking at from your incarnation cross to your actual human design environment to thinking about the actual people in your life to the gifts and services that you have that you want to share. But I cannot reiterate enough of if you are a reflector, how important it is for you to really look around because you are taking in that energy from so many different the people around you. So make sure that whether that's the coach you're working with, the local community that you're hanging out with, the networking community that you're hanging out with, any of that, that the vibe is what you want. The people are in the energy that you want, right? That you're talking about the things, connecting with people about things that feel really good for you. And because you're so highly influenced by your environment, sometimes you struggle with consistency as a reflector. Also, you've got this 28-day cycle or this longer cycle of making decisions. And if you're in a community, in an environment, in the world that doesn't understand that, and if you haven't built a business that supports that from a structural perspective, then it often feels like you just have so much maybe overwhelm or so many like things that you should be doing. And when you start to get more intentional about all of this, you really can truly experience that prosperity because you're looking at what is it that you want in your life? What have you been designed to do? What is the business impact that you want to make? and allowing yourself to have that like time to do it and knowing that what you're building in your business is actually going to achieve that for you, that is how you do get some of that, get more of that prosperity in your life because you get to be who you truly are and you're putting yourself in places and communities and environments that give you energy, that lift you up. And then when you think about what it looks like in business, you are then able to deliver your services, support your clients in the most authentic ways as well. And so, some tips, obviously, as a reflector, as you're thinking about your designing your line business, environment and community is everything. Like, this is a huge component of it for you. And understanding your decision making process, what that looks like, how long it takes, and really reflecting back on the experiences that you've had thus far in your business, that will help you so much because you're going to get all of this wisdom out of it. And what's really important as you are then designing your aligned business, taking that wisdom and knowing that it's right because you are the most rare of the types. And so, from your experience and your unique perspective, you have to trust yourself. And also, like, this is why joining something like the Aligned Business Blueprint for any type, any person is such a valuable process because business planning, there is a structure to it. There is a process we go through that is what traditional business planning looks like. But I have infused into that process and made it this really powerful way of looking at your human design, going deep, understanding where you are currently, and how do you actually create the vision that you have for the future? What does the steps look like? And you're writing it all out. And if I cannot reiterate enough the importance of writing down what it is that you want, whether from a manifestation perspective, a subconscious perspective, or from a business planning perspective, taking the time to get that clear picture and write it down, this is going to help you move so much more quickly in your business, move so much more in alignment because when all the noise comes, you get to look back on what you've written, on what you know is you, and you refocus and you keep going versus continuing to get distracted, doing random things that are not getting you where you want to do, doing things that are not in alignment with who you truly are. Like, that's the beauty of human design and business. And that is how you truly get on the path to prosperity in your life, in your business, in all areas. So I want you to understand that creating your aligned business, however you move forward in doing that, knowing yourself is a huge part of that. Knowing your human design is what's going to not only help you understand how to create that structure, create the business plan or the business blueprint, as I call it, because you're going to understand what your unique type or all of the different parts, whether that's your profile, your centers, your gates, your channels, your environment, how it all fits in to creating that business plan. But really having a customized business plan to you, even if you think of people in the same industry or that do similar types of work, how a projector builds a healing business looks very different than how a generator builds a healing business, and add on all the other layers of your work or of your human design and your past experiences and so many of the things, and taking the time to actually create that plan, to know that what you're working towards is actually in alignment with you, with your vision, even with the resources that you have now in getting to where you want to go 1, 2, 3 years from now. Like, that's how we create long term success. We plan for it. And we not only do we plan for it from a business perspective, but we plan for it from that human design perspective, from the energetic that is you, so that as you're building that plan, you are so in love with what you're creating. You're so excited about what you're creating. And also, you have designed it in a way that your energy supports you creating it. That's how we get to prosperity because you are getting to live your life the way that you desire. You're creating your business the way that you desire. And that is a truly beautiful thing. So I really encourage you to jump on a business alignment call and figure out, is this the right time for you? Is this the right program with you? We really look at on that call, what does your business look like now? And what parts of your human design are we maybe needing to dive deeper into? How can your human design uniquely impact your business to help you be in more alignment, help you really have that long term success, and be on the path to prosperity in your life and in your business? And so until next time, my friends, cheers to your success.